The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Here's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast. We are getting into college football. It kicks off this week. We're also going to talk Major League Baseball. That's what's cooking on the day's Sports Stove podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me?
Welcome in to an all-new edition of the Sports Stove podcast presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. I just got an email today from my friends over at Righteous Felon Jerky. They said, hey, how's your stock of Righteous Felon doing? I said, it's empty. They said, let's take care of that. So I got more jerky coming my way. I'm excited about that, of course, as well. They asked me, they said, what's your favorite flavor? I said, bootleg and barbecue. Hit me up. I also like the Soul Survivor. I also like the Foul Capone. So there's lots of great jerky flavors, and I will look forward to having some more of those. Just had someone else order using that code STOVE15 yesterday. So if you're not ordering jerky, I don't know what you're doing. So get it with the program. Go to righteousfelon.com and use that code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. Well, it's Wednesday night, so here we are. I'm Vince Stover, joined by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. I actually ordered some Righteous Felon today, too. So there we go. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Great stuff. Excited to get back in the jerky flow of things as well. Well, Dad, there are some people who are known as quarterback killers. There's also some people known as quarterback makers. The Green Bay Packers are known as a quarterback makers. They made Bart Starr. They made Brett Favre. They made Aaron Rodgers. They made Jordan Love. And most recently, they made Bo Nix. Bo Nix, now the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton said, I've seen all I need to see. If he can torch the Packers, he can torch anybody. Bo Nix named the starter of the Denver Broncos, Dad. How you feeling about Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, starting in Denver this year?
Well, he looked really good the other day. Like I said, I like Bo Nix. I liked him at Auburn, and so I'm all for him, and I'm all for we always talk about the draft. We love the NFL draft, but the quarterback thing, everybody projects, oh, this guy will be great, this guy won't be as good, and you just don't know. So maybe this will be a year when 5 or 6 of them will turn out to be really good. You never know. And we have a couple guys from last year probably could elevate their game a little bit, but I'm all for Bo Nix doing good. Don't know that I'm a big Bronco fan necessarily, but all for Bo Nix. So we'll see how it goes. But he did look good from what I saw of highlights and everything over the weekend.
Yeah. We'll see how it shakes down. We've been talking NFL the last several weeks. Today we're moving forward to college football. We got college football on Saturday, Dad. It's gonna be good. It's going to be good. So looking forward to that. We're going to take a different approach to college football this year. Typically, we've gone through every conference and all that kind of stuff. The reality is I just wasn't ready to do that. So today we're looking mainly at the college football playoffs and what is ahead. Of course, many changes across the college football landscape. Teams going to new conferences, basically one whole conference dying with the exception of 2 teams. And so we're intrigued to see how it goes. Oklahoma and Texas make the move now to the SEC. So that'll be a fun addition. And of course, the Big Ten, well, they're just taking anybody and everybody from all over the world. So lots of teams out there. Notre Dame still independent, but everybody else still floating in different conferences as it sits right now. How do you feel about the change to the playoffs coming this year? Are you excited about the change, or are you looking at it as a negative thing?
No, I'm excited about it. As I started getting ready for this and looking at college football, I think for me, it'll make college football much more exciting. The last couple of years, well, before that with 2 teams and then even with 4, if you had a favorite team, once they lost a game, and maybe especially a specific game, it was over. They weren't going to be in the championship, and so then it was kind of different going through the year. I think with having 12 teams and the way they do it in the rankings, I think it'll make it much more interesting. Even at the first, losing 1 game, I would say probably in a lot of cases losing 2 games won't knock you out of it. I'm looking at the SEC, and you've got, okay, let's say Georgia and Alabama are in the championship, and another team, it could be Ole Miss, it could be Tennessee, it could be LSU, different teams. Let's say they lose to Alabama and they lose to Georgia, and that's all they lose. I would think there's an awfully good chance they're still going to be in the top 12. And the Big Ten probably has some teams like that too. So to me, it'll make it a lot more interesting. And when you get into the playoff with 12 teams, that's a lot of schools and that's a lot of fan bases that, hey, anybody's got a chance at that point. And so we'll see how now there'll be people disputing who the last 1 or 2 will get into 12, and you're always going to have that. But I like the idea. I think they'll probably have to tweak it in the next couple of years, and we'll see. But I think right now it gives more people a chance, and to me, it'll create more excitement.
Yeah, I think overall it's good. There is still going to be an argument. Probably it's going to be a team like a Missouri, if they get in over a group of 5 undefeated team that, only one group of 5 is guaranteed a spot. And so you got this really good team, but they didn't play a hard schedule. And then you get a 2-loss SEC team or a 2-loss Big Ten team in over top one of these people. They're still going to be complaining. Everyone finds something to complain about. But at the end of the day, I do think it's a good thing. And I think we're going to have fun with it throughout the year. You're right. There are going to be some 2-loss teams in the playoffs now. And I'm interested to see how it all shakes down. And I'm interested to see how people, maybe not this year, but in the next couple of years, how they change, how they schedule. Will they continue to play really hard schedules? Because now you're saying, well, what's the point? I don't have to play the tough teams in week 1. I can play that team from out southwest whatever state, and I won't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to go ahead and play my tough conference schedule, and I'll schedule all these easy games the rest of the way. We'll see if the non-conference schedule gets a little lighter in the years to come, for sure. So we'll see, and we're going to talk through some of the teams we think we're going to be in, teams we think we're going to be out. I think it's going to be a heavy SEC and Big Ten playoffs. We'll see multiple teams from both of those conferences in, and then we'll see how the other conferences fare, the Big 12 especially, and even the ACC some as well. Dad, the one team I do want to talk about is Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is this team. They've chosen not to get into conferences. They're staying independent. They're the team I always look at and say, okay, well, what kind of schedule will they schedule? So they are going to open up against Texas A&M on the road. Then they've got Northern Illinois. Then they've got Purdue. Then they've got Miami, Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State, Virginia, Army, and they close out the year at USC. Do you think Notre Dame, what kind of schedule do they have to have? Can they go easy and make the playoffs, or are they going to be punished if they don't schedule hard games?
I think as long as they win and they can win, some of the bigger name opponents, their schedule's not very hard, like you said, this year. I looked at that. But again, I think they're going to have to win most of their games. It'd be hard for them to make it as a 2-win team, maybe. Now, if they played some really good teams, but they don't have that on the scale. If they lose 2 games this year, they'll have a hard time getting in it. But if they win all the way through, I did a lot of reading on that, and they say Notre Dame really got a break, because if they win their games, they don't have to play a conference championship game. They'll be like a bye week, and then more than likely they'll be the 5th seed, and they would play probably a group of 5 school. And they said, really, Notre Dame kind of got a good break there. I talked to our resident Notre Dame fan today, and he said a lot of his friends are saying, well, they've already put Notre Dame into the national championship game. He said, I wouldn't go that far, but it does look like they got a break. So Notre Dame's something they're going to have. I don't think allowing them to stay independent, but I don't know how they can legislate that either. We'll just see if they get an easy way to go. And they can make rules that say the number of ranked schools they have to beat in order to get in or whatever. So there's things they could do. But I don't know that Notre Dame's in a hurry to get in a conference, and they'll look at it and see how this goes this year too with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, right now they only have 3 ranked opponents scheduled, and A&M's at 20, USC's at 23, Florida State's at 10. They're playing 3 neutral site games against Georgia Tech, Navy, and Army. But again, that's just, the schedule's not hard. Virginia's not hard. Stanford, not hard. Miami of Ohio, not hard. Northern Illinois, not hard. They have. I think they're smart. I'm not blaming them. I think they're smart to do it until they're made to change. By all means, have at it, Notre Dame. All right, let's get into it. Let's start off with locks. Locks for the college football playoff. I have 3 of them, but let's hear what you got for your locks for the college football playoffs.
Well, again, I didn't have a lot of time to prep on this, but I put 4 down real quick. Looked to me like Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and I put Oregon in there.
Okay, so I have Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon are my 3. I do not have Alabama as a lock. New coach, a lot of change going on down there for the Crimson Tide. What gives you the confidence that they'll just pick up where they left off?
Again, I think their new coach is a really good coach. And again, I looked real quick at their schedule. I think their schedule will be okay there a little bit. And I expect them, they've still got top flight players. And I would think Alabama would be in there. I could have put them in the likely category, but I'd be shocked with 12 teams if Alabama's not in it.
I mean, Alabama's a 3-loss team this year, at least, if not more. They're going to lose to Georgia. They're going to lose to one of Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, at least one of those games. And then there's a good chance they're going to lose Oklahoma, and I'm sneaky high on Wisconsin this year too. I mean, they're also going to play Mercer. They're not going to lose that game.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose Vanderbilt, South Florida, or Western Kentucky, although Western Kentucky could be a sneaky game too. But, yeah, I think this is a 3-loss team. I don't think Alabama makes the playoffs. I'm jumping ahead of myself. But that's interesting. I'm surprised that you're that confident in what Alabama can do this year, especially in the games, having Tennessee, having Georgia, having LSU, having Oklahoma, with a brand new coach and a new system and everything that goes with it. Yes, they're talented, and I think they're good, but, man, I really think they're a 3-loss team, Dad.
Okay, well, we will see. That will be a shock to the folks down south, no doubt about that. But we'll see how that goes. I think the coach is a very good coach, and I think he'll have things together there, and he has the talent to work with. So we'll see.
We will see. Okay, so like I said, I think Ohio State, Dad, to me, I think they're going to be the best team in the country. And I know Georgia is talented, and they've been up there the whole time. I think you're in for a surprise, maybe not a surprise, but I think Ohio State's going to be crazy good this year. Do you know who they have as their offensive coordinator this year?
I don't. I probably should, but
Chip Kelly.
wow.
So you add him to Ryan Day and everything else going on at Ohio State. I think they're going to be crazy good. So I got them, Georgia and Oregon, there as my 3 locks for the college football playoffs. Let's go to most likely. So you got some teams, maybe 1, 2, 3 teams that you say, you know what, I'm not comfortable as putting them as a lock, but I really think they're most likely to make the playoffs. Who would that be?
I had Notre Dame in that category. Part of it's their schedule. I think Texas probably fits in there. And when you look at the teams that are near the top, I think Penn State should get in there also.
Yeah, Texas and Penn State were the 2 teams I had. After looking at Notre Dame's schedule, I think that's fair. They might even be locks. I mean, they're going to, yeah. But nonetheless, I got Texas and Penn State as my teams. I think Texas is going to be really good. I think they've got 2 quarterbacks. So, I mean, obviously Quinn Ewers is the guy. But if he struggles or if he gets hurt, I don't think they're going to hurt too badly. So I like them. And I think Penn State has just been consistently good, and they've been the people who have been hurt the most by being a 2-loss team can't make the playoffs. They've always had that Ohio State or Michigan game that gets them and trips them up. Well, now they can lose that game and they can still make the playoffs. So I think Penn State is in as well. All right, let's go to top 12 preseason top 12 teams most likely to miss the playoffs. I've already told you Alabama is one of those teams for me, and I'll give you my other 2. I got Michigan as one of those teams. Again, new coach, a lot of change. There really is a lot of uncertainty there because there's illegal things happened, and they're getting away pretty well with them, but still, I think there's a lot that goes into it. So I've got Bama, Michigan, and Missouri is my other team that I just don't think makes it. The SEC is going to be too stacked this year. I think Missouri falls out. So those are the 3 teams that are currently in the top 12 that I don't think will make the playoffs.
I have Missouri and Michigan, and I like this team, but I think they may get pushed out, and that was Utah.
Yeah. That's probably the safest bet of that group there. I wanted to put Ole Miss, Dad. I have been very negative on Ole Miss. But I feel like they've kind of proven me wrong, so I did not put them on that list. How comfortable are you with Ole Miss?
I mean, again, I don't like the coach at Ole Miss, so that's kind of tough for me.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't have to do with how good they are.
From there, again, I looked at their schedule today. I don't remember exactly who all's on there, so I think it'll depend on the schedule. If they've got 3 or 4 tough conference games, then I think they could drop out. But again, he's got good talent there, so I don't know that I'm comfortable with him, but we'll see.
So Ole Miss lined up a gauntlet to start the season, Dad. They open up against Furman.
Yes.
Then they follow that up with Middle Tennessee State University. Then they travel to Wake Forest. Then they back home for Georgia Southern. Stop me when I get to a game they could lose. Then they got Kentucky, South Carolina. They end the season with a run. They got LSU, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, and then Mississippi State. So yeah,
They could lose 3 or 4 out of that last 6, though.
Sure. Yeah, they could. I wanted to take them out, but I feel like I've had a few years where I've predicted them to be bad and they haven't been. so I decided to stay away from that. What about teams that are not in the top 12 that you think can make it into the playoffs right now?
Well, I think Tennessee has a chance, no doubt about it. I think LSU has a chance. And a team that I think is going to rebound would be Clemson.
All right, so you went with team number 13, 14, and 15. That's a big stretch, Dad, to move up into the 12th spot. No, I agree with you on all those teams. Yeah, I think Clemson's a playoff team. I think Tennessee definitely could be, and LSU definitely could be as well. I went a little further down the list than you. I went with USC. I think that the Trojans are a team that could definitely get up there. And Washington, they lose their coach to Alabama. They bring in a new coach in Jed Fish. I think they're a team that you got to watch out for. He had done very well in Arizona, and he actually has them ranked above Washington right now. I think Washington's a team that could sneak in with a really good year as well. So those are the two teams I'll go with, although I do agree with you. LSU, Clemson, and Tennessee are definitely teams that could get up there as well. Any other teams that just kind of stick out to you, things that you're interested in coming into the season?
Well, to be interesting with Oklahoma, they have some tough games, though. So we will see. Again, their coach has been there now a couple of years, and I think they will be good. I looked at Miami's schedule. It'll be interesting to see if they can rebound. I don't know if they can get that far up in it or not. I read somewhere Oklahoma State is supposed to be very good. They have some good players. Be interesting to see if the Big 12, can get somebody in or not. The ACC probably will. But again, I think the Big 10 and the SEC are going to be really hard to handle. But again, with all those good teams, when I started looking at it, a lot more tough games than there used to be in those conferences there. I mean, the SEC has always had a lot of competition in the conference, but the Big 10, there's a lot of, there's going to be a lot of big games there. Somebody's going to have to, knock somebody out. So we'll see.
All right, let's run through some conferences real quick, just to spark our mind on some things. The ACC adds California and Stanford, SMU as well in there right now this year. Clemson, Florida State, Miami, NC State are the ranked teams currently from the ACC. To me, Clemson's the team to watch out there, Dad. I really do think they're going to have a bounce back season this season. I would even pick them over Florida State, in my personal opinion. Any thoughts on the ACC?
No, Florida State is interesting because they have really rebounded from where they were, a couple of years ago. And they're always going to recruit well there and probably do well in the portal, I would assume, too. So, and again, if I remember right, they've got a really tough game in the first couple ones there, too. So, we'll see how that goes. NC State plays Tennessee early, so that'll be a big game for them. And the other teams in the conference probably won't be as strong, at least not this year. But we'll see how that goes with recruiting in the future.
All right, the Big 12 conference, they've had some additions as well. Let's see. Ranked teams in the Big 12 is Utah at 12, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, and the Kansas Jayhawks. What are the chances Kansas and Arizona can keep up their current runs and stay as good as they are? And who do you think is the team to watch in the Big 12?
Well, again, I looked at Utah's schedule. They do play some good teams, so we will see there. Arizona's the interesting team to me that come in there because they've been good. So they're the kind of team that could come in and really wreak havoc there in the conference. On the other hand, they're going to play some teams they haven't played. And, Kansas State has made some moves in the last couple of years. I don't know if they're where they need to be this year. The Kansas ranking surprised me a little bit, even though I know they have gotten better. Of course, you got Coach Prime out in Boulder, so you never know kind of what's going to happen there. Baylor is a very interesting team. They're always very, very competitive. They're not ranked, so maybe their talent isn't quite as good this year. But it will be interesting from there. Utah has been better in the last couple of years, so we'll see if they can dominate the conference or not.
What's your expectation for Colorado this year? Do you think that they can make a run, or do you think personally answer the question, then I'll give my thoughts.
I think Colorado will probably be middle of the pack there in the conference. I don't know that they're going to dominate.
Okay. I think this is the last year for Coach Prime at Colorado. I think Coach Prime heads to Dallas next year, takes over the Cowboys, gets his son drafted, and runs things there in Dallas moving forward. So I think they'll be fine. Maybe a 8-win, 9-win season at Colorado, but I think he goes to the Cowboys next year. Let's jump to the Big Ten Conference. Of course, a lot of ranked teams here: Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State, and Michigan, all top 10 teams currently. USC at 23, Iowa at 25. Dad, again, I'm really high on Wisconsin this year, and I think Washington's going to be good. I think we're going to see a lot of the Big Ten in the rankings throughout this season. Anybody, and I already said it, I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. How do you feel? Let me say this too: USC, Washington. Let's see here, Oregon, and who else was added? Somebody else, right? UCLA, all added in there as well. So it's going to stretch them out this year. How do you feel about the Big Ten and Ohio State, and maybe a sneaky team coming in as well?
Well, I think Ohio State should be dominant. Like I said, they have, when you see in college football and a team just stays stacked with talent, which is what has happened at Georgia and happened at Alabama for years. That's really where Ohio State is. They just have scads of talent, and I think they have a coach that knows how to handle it. So I think Ohio State will be good. They do play Oregon early, and that'll be a very interesting game there. But some of the other teams, as I read the rankings, Purdue is supposed to be better. I think Iowa could be better. They couldn't score last year. But if they can get the offense going, they've got some good defensive players. They always have there. But again, it may be a tough year. Their schedule is not as bad, if I remember right from looking at it. Penn State has been right there with the talent, but with the divisions the way it was, they couldn't get past Michigan and Ohio State. That may change a little bit now, and we'll see how that goes. I like Wisconsin. I've listened to some Wisconsin people. It sounds like they're a little iffy up there, not knowing exactly what the quarterback situation is going to be. But they've got a very good coach, no doubt about that, in Luke Fickell. And again, people say Nebraska is going to be better. I'm not sure about that one either.
Don't fall into that trap.
So we'll see.
Let's go to the SEC. It just means more. Lots of ranked teams here. Georgia, number 1. Texas, number 4. Alabama, 5. Ole Miss, 6. LSU, 13. Tennessee, 15. Mizzou at 11. Oklahoma at 16. And A&M at 20. Plus, you got other teams like Florida, Kentucky, who have been, at least middle of the road, if not better. Then you always have Vanderbilt, and this year Mississippi State has very low expectations. Adding Oklahoma and Texas, we've been looking forward to this for years. It's going to add a lot to the schedule, a lot to the conference as well, where you've always had Georgia and Alabama for the last decade at least. Now it looks like we might be able to start seeing some new teams at the top. So what do you think about the SEC this year with the additions of Texas and the addition of Oklahoma?
Well, it's an interesting because it adds 2 talented teams, but it also adds 2 very tradition teams, and that's what the SEC has had. From there, we've got a friend that's a big OU fan, and I remember we talked last year, and he said, boy, I'm kind of wondering, can we hang with the SEC teams? And I said, talent-wise, yes. The difference is going to be the venues. You're going to be going into venues that are big or bigger and tradition, and it's going to be a little different, than the teams they've competed against in the conferences that they have been in. But again, Texas is on the move. OU always recruits well. So, I mean, when you look at the conference, it's crazy. You add Texas to, and you got now LSU and Texas, playing every year and stuff like that. Florida, I don't know that much about their talent, but I can't imagine Florida just dropping off the map necessarily. But, a team like them in Kentucky, if they don't keep up Auburn, then it's going to be tough now when you add Texas and Oklahoma in there. Now, if they all get to be back, Arkansas, if they get back to where they're talented, then, it's going to be anybody can win on any given Saturday, except when you go to Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Kentucky and Florida have been teams that over the last, 8 years, it's been that hopeful, an 8-win team, but man, if we can win 10, now we can spoil some people. Well, Kentucky and Florida are going to be the spoilers this year against these ranked teams that are here. And like I said, pretty much you got Vanderbilt and Mississippi State at the bottom, and then everybody else. It's not a given win when you walk into these stadiums. You might be the favorite and you might be expected to win, but it's just not a given win unless you're at Vanderbilt and maybe Mississippi State this year as well. It's going to be fun. College football is right around the corner. Like I said, we kick up the season this weekend. Saturday, Florida State and Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland. Get things kicked off on noon on Saturday. That should be a lot of fun for sure. Any other college football thoughts, Dad?
No, I think it's going to be an exciting year. And like you said, we got a game this weekend, but then a week from this weekend, everybody starts playing. And there's some good games the first week. And then there are some people playing, the not so good teams like they normally do. So we will see. But in the first couple of weeks, a lot of people do get a good game coming in. So,
yeah. And of course, EKU is traveling to Mississippi State in a week from Saturday. And we're starting to talk about that. I've actually got a local hour tomorrow with the new athletic director at EKU, Kyle Moats, and the freshly minted QB1, Matt Morrissey, will join the show tomorrow as well. Those are fun interviews, so make sure you tune in to that tomorrow night right here on the Sports Stove local hour. And then me and Ryan will start previewing Mississippi State. I think we're going to start doing shows on Sunday night as well. I got another show on Sunday night, but I think we're going to start doing the local hour on Sunday night also. And so lots of content coming your way here in a very short amount of time. All right, Dad, let's transition over to baseball. News of the day, Joey Votto retires officially on his Instagram tonight. So Joey Votto officially done in Major League Baseball. You're in the Cincinnati area, and I'm sure there will be a whole lot of Joey Votto talk coming tomorrow when the local radio stations get rolling. Any thoughts on the retirement of Joey Votto?
No, I mean, he's been a great player for the Reds, no doubt about that. And he's definitely a big, big favorite here, like a lot of traditional Reds heroes have been. I think he'll go down as one of those too.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's 4 games under 500, 12 and a half out of the pennant race. Why didn't they just keep him? why did they let him walk away? They should have let him have a going away season in Cincinnati this year, because it wouldn't have mattered. They weren't going to get any worse than they are right now. Let's look at the division races going on in Major League Baseball. Let's start in the American League. The American League East is all knotted up at the top. The Yankees and the Orioles back and forth. And the Red Sox just want to be a part of the conversation. They are part of the wild card conversation. But, Dad, at the top of the division, Yankees, Orioles, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be that way all the way to the end.
Yes. Yeah, it's been that way all year, and it looks like that's definitely going to be that way too. And they could be, 2 of the teams that come out in the finals in the American League also.
Yep. And right now the Red Sox are 3 games out of the wild card spot. So they're going to have to get with it for sure. The number 1 team in the American League right now is the Cleveland Guardians. And of course, they also sit atop the AL Central. And, Dad, the Kansas City Royals and the Minnesota Twins are both currently wild card teams and only 3.5 games behind the Guardians. we thought the Guardians were going to win the division, but did we see them being number one in the American League?
No, I mean, I think the thinking was Baltimore or the Yankees would be number one. But again, for the last several weeks, month or so, Cleveland, it was pretty much a lock. And I've heard you guys on your baseball show talk about, when you talk about three good teams in the American League, and Cleveland was always one of them. So that's not too surprising. And I'm sure up in Cleveland, they're very excited about the potential postseason this year. They have rabid baseball fans up there. So,
yeah, I guess I'm probably more surprised about the Royals, even more so than the Twins. Right now, the Royals or the Twins would be winning the AL West. They're both wild card spots right now as well. Impressive what Kansas City has done all year, and it's really started with the pitching.
Yeah, it's been like I said, it's been a surprise, and they've just stayed consistent all the way down the line. And the same way with Minnesota, they've stayed in there. So those two teams, that'll be interesting if they can make the playoffs, and it looks like there's definitely a good chance of it because we're coming down to the last 4 or 5 weeks here. So.
The Houston Astros are now starting to walk away with the AL West. Only 68-58, but the Mariners, who sat atop the division for a while, and I started to believe in, well, now they have fallen. They are only 1 game over 500, 4.5 back from the division. It looks like we're only going to have one team from the American League West in the playoffs this year, and I think they're a really dangerous team in Houston. How do you feel about the Astros?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going to win that division. No doubt about it. I don't know that they're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, but obviously, they've got playoff experience or whatever, but I don't know that they've have a talent or has been near as consistent as the other teams have. So, I don't know that they would make a lot of noise in the playoffs, but it does look like they're going to win that division. The Mariners have just slipped away.
Yeah, don't doubt the Astros, Dad. Don't doubt the Astros. All right, let's go to the National League East. The Phillies still in control, 6 games up on the Braves. The Braves, with all these injuries, and they had more this week, they're just there. And 6 games back from the Phillies right now, but they are in the wild card race as well. Currently 2 games up on the Mets and 4 games up on the Giants. Are the Braves going to be able to hold on to a playoff spot?
I don't know. You would think they could, but I just don't know. The Mets and the Giants are hanging around there, and you would think the Braves, they're going to make the playoffs, but they're behind a little bit of the Padres and the Diamondbacks. So we will see if they stay in that last spot. It'll be close at least going into the last week, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Mets, I'm not worried about the Mets. The Giants, they've had moments, but definitely not consistency. Yeah. And the only issue for the Braves has really been injuries. So I think the Braves, I think your 6 playoff teams in the NL are locked in. You might see some seeding changes, but I think overall the teams are there. In the National League Central, the Brewers now 11.5 games up on the Cubs. They're playing the Cardinals right now. They're 12 games up on them. Reds are 12.5 back. Pirates 14.5 back. Brewers, the only team in the Central above 500. I tell you, coming into this season, I really thought St. Louis, I thought Cincinnati, I thought Chicago would all be competitive all the way to the end. And, that just has not been the case.
No, that's true. And I heard today on a Milwaukee station, they're already talking about the magic number. So anyhow, so they're trying to be very guarded about it, but they're pretty optimistic that the Brewers, now whether the Brewers are going to be able to contend, with the Phillies and the Dodgers, that's a legitimate question. And, the Padres and Diamondbacks are going to be tough also. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they're tied record-wise with the Phillies. They're a couple games behind the Dodgers. This is a team that should not be as good as they are. So the question is when or does the magic run out for Milwaukee? That's what we're waiting to see. We'll see how that one shakes out. In the National League West, the Dodgers for a while looked like the clear-cut, no chance of anybody catching them team in the West. Well, the Padres are only 3 games back. The Diamondbacks are only 4 games back, and the Dodgers have had some issues here and there. So I still say the Dodgers are going to win the division, but how confident are you the Dodgers will win the division?
Well, I think talent-wise and everything, they probably should. But when you only have a 3-game lead, you're talking about one series.
One series.
If they get swept by either one of those teams in a series or lose 3 out of 4, all of a sudden it's a whole different thing. And the Dodgers have had, some injury issues, some pitching issues there. And so, we will see. I would think the Dodgers will be the champions in the West, but next couple of weeks could be still very interesting.
Yeah, you lose 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks and then 2 out of 3 to the Padres. You drop 4 games to those 2 teams. My soul. It's going to be intriguing to watch how it all breaks down for sure. Okay. That's all that I've got baseball related. Anything else Major League Baseball that you want to cover?
No, but I think the baseball season's been good because it looked like it was, going to be okay. It's just these few teams. And now looks like we're going to have races all the way down, some division races all the way down, and definitely wild card races, potentially all the way down to the end.
I agree. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if we want to cover some of this. I don't think we do. Anything else that you want to talk about?
No, like I said, college football is starting up, pro football. We got the last week of the preseason, and then the following week we'll have the cut downs, and that'll be interesting to see there because there could be some movement, with people picking people up and stuff like that. So we're getting ready to start the pro football season, but college will already, be starting from there. So that's pretty much what we have. And of course, I know you usually talk NASCAR. That's coming down.
Yes.
Exciting time to see who's going to get in the playoffs there with 2 weeks left. Nobody surprised anybody to get in on this week. And looks like the one spot pretty much is set, I guess. But that last one would be pretty close, it looks like.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that more next week when we got one race to go. We'll kind of see where the playoffs are. Yeah, NASCAR has been a lot of fun, and we're coming down to those final drivers making it into the playoffs, and it's definitely up in the air right now. You're probably looking at 3 teams trying to get 2 spots, maybe 4 teams trying to get 3 spots still. And if get a crazy winner in there, it throws everything out. So we will see how that one breaks down for sure. Okay, so here's the schedule for this week. Tomorrow night, Thursday night, all new Sports Stove Local Hour, special night, everything. Again, Athletic Director Kyle Moats and newly named quarterback 1, Matt Morrissey, on the show tomorrow night. Ryan Jackson will be with me to co-host that show. Sunday, we're probably looking at a 2-show Sunday, Dad. So it's Sunday night at some point. I'll put it out on the socials, but we'll probably have another local hour previewing Mississippi State, getting ready for the first game of the season. And then we'll also have the Sports Stove Fantasy Baseball show. I was out of town this week, so Kevin and Chase took over for me. It's on the Belly Up YouTube channel. You can check that out there. I have not had a chance to listen to it yet, but they did the show Sunday. Thank you guys for filling in there. But I'll be back this Sunday. Me and Kevin, we are winding down the fantasy baseball season, and so me and Kevin will be there to discuss that Sunday night at 8 p.m. on the Sports Stove YouTube and Facebook, and audio will be available wherever you get your Sports Stove podcast. So check us out on social media at Sports Stove. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And make sure you go check out Righteous Felon. Get yourself some jerky and use the code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. Thank you so much for tuning in to the night's edition of the Sports Stove Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.